Hey everybody, just a real quick video today on the topic of works cited pages and in particular the dreaded hanging indent that gives so many people such a problem. This one is a classic issue. They've fortunately done a really good job at incorporating a little bit of uh, I don't know what you'd call it, a shortcut, I guess. So you're not having to use your tab key and your space bar to try and get that hanging indent. If you had been in college back when I was in college, you would know that this used to be such a nightmare. So fortunately, with the things like Google Docs and even Microsoft Word now and uh what is the other one, Apple Pages, they all kind of do the same thing now, which is very fortunate and makes life a lot easier. But even still, you kind of need to be shown how to do it, so we're just going to run through that very quickly. As you can see here from what I'm showing you on my screen, you've got a basic MLA document. This is my sort of go-to topic for the concept explanation paper is tofu. So I've gone ahead and searched up tofu in the EBSCO database. This is, what's going to be, you're all going to be required to start using academic sources, peer-reviewed scholarly journals and things like that for the last three papers. And so hopefully you've already been using the EBSCO database. If you haven't, I do recommend going back and taking a look at the notes from, I think it was last week or this week where I had the notes uploaded on how to access these. So I'll go ahead and show you real quick on here. I'm just going to go down to my second page just to, give you an idea of how a works cited page ought to be formatted. And you're of course going to, at the top of your page, it'll be the last page of your document, or I should say it'll begin on the next page after the last page of your document. And it's going to be just like this, works cited, centered at the top. And then on the very next line, you're going to go left justification. Take your cursor all the way back to the left there. And then we'll go ahead and start copying and pasting in our works cited entries. So I also pulled up an article here from just a random website, and I wanted to show you how to use the Purdue OWL citation generator for that purpose as well. So let's take a look at that one first. You can see this is from a website called Healthline, Tofu Health Benefits and Risks. It doesn't appear to have an author listed. I'm sorry, it does here. Written by Alina Petre. Um, so we'll go ahead and just take a look very quickly. If we go to the Purdue OWL, you see that'll bring up this here, and they've got this MLA guide here. And then you can see right here at the top of this MLA guide, cite your source automatically in MLA. This is a really great resource. It's something that you should familiarize yourself with if you haven't already. And so we're just going to go ahead and copy the URL into here. I'm going to click the cite button. It'll usually make you watch an ad, I think. And then you'll see it'll search for it here, and we've got it right here: tofu nutrients, benefits, downsides, and more. So we're going to go ahead and cite that. And then it'll tell you what we found and what we need. So you can see it's got the title, it's got the URL, it's got the date accessed. It does not have a publisher or sponsor. The website title and the date published are all missing. So if we look back here very quickly, um, it's got a date that it was updated, so we might be able to use that. Oftentimes, when it asks for a sponsor, a website sponsor or something, I'll just end up using the name of the website again, because they typically are the ones sponsoring it. Sometimes you may have to scroll all the way down to the bottom just to be sure. You can see here, copyright 2026 Healthline Media LLC. So that's probably what we'll go ahead and write for our sponsor there. But yeah, let's go ahead and fill this out here. We can click continue. And it asks you here, what's the author's name? So going back over here, we can find our author up here at the top. Written by Alina Petre, MSRD. So we're not concerned with her credentials right now. So we'll just go ahead and fill that information in. Alina, last name Petre. The website title is Healthline. Publisher sponsor, going back down to the bottom here on the website, Healthline Media LLC. We'll call that the publisher sponsor. And that'll just help to sort of fill in all of our information. We do have the date access, the date published. We're going to go ahead with the date that's on there, which was January 10th, 2025. So we'll go 10 January 2025. And now we've got pretty much everything we need. So we can go ahead and complete the citation. And this is where it'll ask you if you want to view a sponsored message. I don't subscribe to this. I probably ought to as an English teacher, but I use it, a couple times a semester for these demonstrations. So I don't really see the need to do that. So, it's going to put you through like a 25, 30-second ad for something. Here's Adobe Pro, whatever, you just got to suffer through this. And then you'll see it'll spit out a really nice, well-formatted MLA citation on the other end. So just bear with me for a moment here. Okay. And there it is. You can see there it's just everything that we need for an MLA citation. It's also got that hanging indent included. What you will find, probably what I find almost every time, is that when you go to copy and paste this, it does lose its formatting. So we'll go ahead and copy the citation, and then we'll come back over here to our Google Doc, our Works Cited page. We'll go ahead and paste that in. And as I suspected, it did, delete that hanging indent, which is actually a good thing in this case. So we're going to make sure that it's all the way left justified. And we've now got our first citation there. Let's go ahead and pull two more from the EBSCO database. I wanted to pull up a couple of peer-reviewed ones here. So we're on the EBSCO host. It may ask me to sign in here. I'm not sure. Doesn't look like it. That's great. And so one of the coolest things about the databases nowadays is that they will create these citations for you. So you just come up here to this quotation mark, you click cite, and it'll ask you the style. You go ahead and select MLA 9th, and it'll give you the citation in MLA format on its own. You don't even have to lift a finger for this, so that makes it very nice. You go ahead and, we can even just click the copy to clipboard button here. Back to our document we go, jump down a line, paste that in. We, of course, want to make that all the way left justified as well. And then we'll add one more citation here. Go back over to our EBSCO page, go back to our results, and I wanted to find one more scholarly article. There was one up here towards the top. Mapping the genetic architecture of tofu quality traits. Of course, you're going to find sources that are relevant to your paper. These are just the first ones that popped up just for the sake of this demonstration. So you'll probably, dig through your results a little bit more thoroughly than I have. Click our Cite button, MLA 9th edition, copy to clipboard, back to our Google Doc, paste that in, all the way left justified. And now, obviously, the first thing that I want to do, and everyone should do when you're working on an MLA citation page, or Works Cited page, I should say, we of course need to make sure that they're all alphabetical according to the first word of the site, the what do you call it? The Works Cited entry. So we've got a P, a two Ks. So obviously we're going to go with this Kishore first. So we'll go ahead and delete that. We'll move that up here to the top line, paste it in. Again, we're going to fix our formatting here. And then our second one will be this Koprenviak. We'll copy that, paste it up here into this next line down. And so now we've got our three entries there. They're all correctly formatted except for the hanging indent. So in alphabetical order according to the first word there. So that's great. And so now, in order to make this hanging indent happen, it's very simple. It might take me a moment here. I haven't done this in a moment, but it should be here under Format. Then you go down to where it says Align and Indent. and you're going to go to indentation options. I'm sorry, first you'll notice that I highlighted this whole entry. This is our first works cited entry. We're going to go to format, align and indentation options, and then you'll see there's this whole little spot, special indent. We can click on that and we can go hanging. I don't know what it's asking there. Probably the how much we want it to hang. So you want to go 0.5. That should be a half an inch, and that's usually enough. And then we're going to apply it, and you'll see it takes all of the lines after the first one and kicks them in a half inch. And that is what a proper hanging indent should look like. And you'll see once we've done that to all of our entries here, that it ends up creating this effect where the that opening line is all the way left justified, and then everything after it hangs off to the right there. And what this does is it just makes your works cited page a lot easier for your professor to look at. So we're going to do it one more time here. Indentation options, hanging indent 0.5. And now you see we've got that. And so what it does is it just gives you a real easy visual reference to the order in which they appear and the first word. And then what I always recommend, and this is maybe a separate lecture for another day, but I'll just throw this in here real quick. I always recommend getting your works cited page in order before you worry too much about your in-text citations, because now that I've got this here, I know exactly how to format my works cited. I'm sorry, my in-text citation for each one of these works cited entries. So, for example, with this first one, I know that it begins with Kishore, and I know that we've got multiple authors listed, which is where we get this et al., which is Latin for all the rest. And so an in-text citation here, if we're writing along sentence, 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 and we have incorporated either a direct quote or some information that we want to cite, and we get to the end of that sentence and we want to make an in-text citation that refers to that first entry, we'll just go Kishore et al. And then because this is an article, depending on if it has page numbers, it looks like it does. It's pages 419 to 450 in this journal. So we would just include the page numbers, so, 432 or whatever it may be, period. And that would be our in-text citation for that first one. Second one, same thing, just as simple. Koprivniak. I think I spelled that right. No. Koprivniak. There we go. And this is only one page, so we know that this will be on page 672. And then on this last one, you got to excuse my placeholder, sentence, sentence, sentence. We would cite this one, Petre. And because there are no pages here, because this was an article, if you remember, it looks like this on the page, right? This is not considered a scholarly source, by the way. This is just this is what we would consider like an additional source. So in this case, because it doesn't have page numbers per se, if you were quoting maybe, I don't know, something from this little sentence here, we would count down the paragraphs. So in this case, we would go paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. And so this would be technically our fifth paragraph of the article, even though really it's like the fifth line, but because of the way the page is broken up and whatever, this would be our fifth paragraph. And so we would say PAR period 5, close that quotation mark. And that is how we would format our in-text citations for each of these entries. So that's the reason I always tell my students it works to your benefit to get your works cited page in order first before you attempt to work on your in-text citations, just because then you know exactly what it needs to refer to. While I've got you here, let me go ahead and pull up one more article on tofu, and let's pick one that doesn't have an author if we can find that. Let's try this all rest. That's got an author. I'll just very quickly find one. Okay, so here's an example. 5 reasons to eat more tofu doesn't appear to have an author. So let's go ahead and plug this into our, oh, I'm sorry. Now I've got I've gone and opened this on another page here. Let me go back here. Healthline. Okay, so here's, no, that's not the one I was just looking at. Where did it go? There it is, this Cleveland Clinic one. Okay, so I just want to copy this URL into our citation generator, run through this process again. Hopefully it won't make us watch another ad here. This video is already getting a little long. I know, I apologize. So if we don't have an author, we do have, this is the Cleveland Clinic website. So we're just going to leave the author out. And that's what you do if you can't find an author listed. Do we have a date? Yes, September 14th, 2023. We'll complete the citation. Typically, it'll only make you watch one ad every like 3 or 4 citations. So in this case, we're kind of past that. So that's good. So we'll copy this citation, put it onto our Works Cited page. Let's see here where it's going to go. I'm sorry. So this one will go at the top because it is a bunch of numbers. It starts with a number, I should say. And we just want to make sure that's all the way left justified. We're going to do the same thing, our hanging indent on this format. Align and indent, indentation options, hanging indent, 0.5, and it'll format it just like the rest. And so if you have one that starts like this where it doesn't have an author name, then you're going to, and you want to cite it still in your text, sentence, yada, yada, yada. And then we just abbreviate the title to the first 2 words. So in this case, 5 counts as a word. So you want to include your quotation mark to let the reader know that they're looking for a title, 5 reasons. We only need the first 2 words because it's the only one on our Works Cited page that begins this way. If we had another article that was like 5 reasons, why tofu is great or something like that, we would have to be more specific. We would have to elaborate a little bit more. But in this case, it's the only entry that begins this way. So we can go ahead and leave it at 2 words, 5 reasons, and then we just give that ellipsis ... to indicate which one we're talking about. Close your quotation mark there. And then we use that same format from that I just showed you previously, paragraph 2, or whichever paragraph we got that information from. Close the parentheses and add your period there. And that would be an in-text citation to match that one. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully that, kind of sums up the hanging indent. Hopefully this is a little bit of information for you on the in-text citations as well. I know all this stuff can be a little bit confusing, but again, it's all in the class notes. So hopefully you've been reading through those class notes. Starting with essay 2, these formatting things do start to count towards your grade. So just make sure that you're taking the time to go over this. The place where it really, really counts is on your 4th and final research paper. That paper, you must demonstrate your mastery of MLA formatting. So once we hit paper 4, that's where this really starts to count and, will really affect your grade. So just make sure that you're taking the time to go back over this as you work on these essays going forward. And hopefully that helps. So please let me know if there is anything else you need covered in one of these videos. I'd be happy to do it. And we will see you all in the next one. Thank you, everybody.